Welcome to the March 11th, 2019 meeting of the Florissant City Council. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Siam. Here. Harris. Here. Jones. Here. Egan. Here. Caputa.
Here.
Shuldroff. Here. Hankey. Here. Pagano. Here. Parson.
Next item, approval of minutes. Are there any corrections, additions to the meeting, executive meetings on February 25th, 2018? This should be 2019. Hearing none, Councilman Shuldroff moves to approve the minutes, second by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Next is hearing from citizens. John? None? I see none. Communications? I see none. Next item is public hearings. Public hearing number 1902002, request for a special use permit for an adult daycare center at 119 Flower Valley Shopping Center, was postponed to this date. Are the petitioners present? See none. Mr. Siam moves to postpone this public hearing, second by myself. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Postponed to next council meeting, which is the 25th. Next item is public hearing number 1902003. Request for a special use permit for an adult daycare center at 58 Grandview Plaza Shopping Center was read and postponed to this date. Petitioners present, please. Welcome. Please state your name, address for the record, please.
Nicole Williams, 1732 Claudine Drive.
Ashley Hall, 1370 Rio.
Patrice Hall, 1870 Shardale.
Thank you. Yeah, the public hearing was, our last meeting was postponed because several council had questions. And I see them, we wanted to see the facility. Correct. And the ones that seen it, I think we still have a few questions. So I would, that was there, have anything right off the bat? Mr. Jones.
Well, ladies, it seems like you guys got your setup right. I appreciate you letting us come up to see it. I will not be for this. I'm not for these in the shopping centers at all. I do hope that our president of the council does reach out to management and tries to stop this from happening in the future. I apologize about you guys sticking your money into there like you guys did without the approvals and all that stuff. I know you guys are kind of stuck then, but I'm just not for these in the shopping centers like that, nor the daycares or any of that. I don't think these shopping centers were built for these purposes. And I think when some of these buildings get empty, it sways us to want to fill them, but the public leans on us and says the same thing I just said as far as these shopping centers weren't built for these things. I'll be voting against it tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Parson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, good evening. How are you all today? Okay, I just have a couple questions I wanted to ask. Last time we were here, I made the statement that I, really don't know anything about the procedure and all of that. So I wanted to get some information about that, and I did look up a few things. So I just have a couple questions in regards to that. So in terms of the application process for you to get a license for an adult daycare, I know it states that you're supposed to apply for a packet and submit a floor plan. Has that happened yet or not, or is that something that goes after you
It will
would get
come
the place?
after this.
So none of that has even been done?
No, we haven't submitted it. We were waiting for this.
Okay. Do you have any idea what's needed before you would have an inspection once you do the packet? What steps would be necessary?
For, when you say steps, what steps we will have to take?
Well, it's under my impression that there's certain steps you have to take care of before they would even come and do an inspection in
Right,
your adult
and
daycare. So
This is one of them, is
Okay.
getting our license to operate out of that facility.
okay, what are the
So
other?
then after that, it would just be like the firm marshal coming out, all of the city or county inspectors will come out, and then the state will come out, and then they will inspect the building as well for
Okay.
safety.
Okay. Then additionally, I know when we came by there was some talking about the entrance in front, and there was concerns about traffic. Then there was also some speculation that you could have some of the seniors come in through the back. Have you spoken with the landlord about any remedies in regards to that since we last met?
No, we haven't. There is handicap parking spaces up front, and there is ample enough space where someone could enter in the back.
Okay.
I mean, it's next to a restaurant,
All right.
so,
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, Ms. Parson. Mr. Egan?
Thank you very much. I did go by the business. I didn't get to look in. Last time we talked, I had concerns with the drop-off and the pickup, and I still have those concerns. I believe that's a fire lane along there, so they would have to travel across that lane, 2 lanes of traffic there in order to get in, access the building. I went around back, and right outside the back door, there's more of an alcove than anything, and I think getting vehicles in and out of there would be problematic. There's already 2 dumpsters almost right by your back door, two corral pens for dumpsters, and I just really have a concern with getting folks in and out. Several years ago, we did this with the daycare, for children daycare, in the shopping centers, and when I first became aware of people on the council wanting to change it, I was against it, but as I got into it, and Ms. McKay did a lot of work on that, as I became more aware, more understanding of her reasonings and visiting the daycares, I became a supporter, and I believe that ordinance passed 9-0, if I'm correct. I may be wrong on that. I know it was, if not unanimous, it was nearly unanimous. I also went by the other one that is not particular to you, so I won't address that, but I then went to a daycare, an adult daycare, and visited that on a couple occasions, and I believe that, whereas I believe this is more of a warehousing situation, at least the one I visited, I do understand the need for these types of facilities. And so I'm going to go back to my original statement that I believe that these should be standalone buildings like the Kinder Cares and the Snow Whites and the other, where you can actually get the vehicles, the vans in there to get the people out safely. I like things like handrails and buzzers and LPNs and RNs and the such. So I will not be voting for this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Ms. Pagano?
Yes, thank you again for letting us come in and visit and look in and answering some of our questions there. As I told you that evening, I am getting calls from residents about it, and I had my own reservations. I agree with Mr. Egan that I believe that they should be standalone buildings for these people. And just as we were standing there that night watching, you know, at 5 o'clock, just the traffic coming in and Subway's right next door, people aren't stopping at that sign. As I said, they just do a roll stop and things. So those were some of my concerns there, and I will be voting no.
Thank you, Ms. Pagano. Yes, I know one of my concerns was when I first looked into the building, the way it was set up, and then when we came to the building, and you had it the way you were, that's the way your activities room would be set up for the activities, correct?
For the most part.
And what was the number of clientele, customers that you would be able to have in your square footage that you have
The amount
proposed?
that's on the floor plan was 23.
23. Now, what I would see when I was in there, the way you had that one section where you have your offices, as you're looking into the building, the offices are to your right, correct?
Correct.
And then the open spot is where you're going to have your activities.
Correct.
Now, if you had, say, 10 people, 10 of your clientele in there in wheelchairs, there'd be no room.
It will be room.
For 20, if you were trying to have 23 people in there, and say they were all on wheelchairs, that'd be very hard for, if something happened where you had to get them people out, and you had that, there's not that much room there. That's me.
Right.
I consider that would be, there's not enough room if you had
It's
more
enough
people
room because
in the wheelchairs
if
or.
they were in a wheelchair, I mean, we wouldn't have 23 people in a wheelchair. But if it was people within a wheelchair, it'll be room because the chairs will not be there. And they can have their wheelchair or they can sit in any of the other chairs. Just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean that you're bound in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who wants to sit in a wheelchair for 5 hours? So they could get out of their wheelchair. Some people are in a wheelchair just for long walks. They're not in a wheelchair because they can't walk at all. So there's different reasons that somebody may have a wheelchair.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I did a little bit of research on this as well, and on the business end of it, it seems like, from what I found, there is a market for it, and we have an aging population, and that a lot of the caregivers for the elderly, people who might need care during the day, might take advantage of this type of service, and do. There are a lot of operating facilities in the area. So I'm curious, do you have a list of people who are ready to sign up for this?
We have a few people. The ones that are ready to sign up are not in wheelchairs. The ones that we've had people stop by where we're at as we were in there cleaning or doing different things that wanted cards because they wanted to attend. So we do have people that's ready to go once the doors are open.
Okay. Can you repeat? I think you talked a little about this last time. There's different models of these adult daycares. Will you be doing like therapeutic services as well?
No,
okay.
we will not.
So you mentioned recreation.
Just recreational. Like I stated before, the doors are open from 6 to 6, but that's a window. Every single person no one will be there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're only allowed so many hours a day.
I think I read 10 hours a day. Yeah.
The average person could get 10, but the average person don't get it. You know, they get 4 or 5. Some people get 3 hours a day, but they don't get 5 days a week. They may get 3 hours, 3 days a week, 10 hours, 2 days a week. No one will ever be there from door open to door closed as a participate.
Do you know what the fee structure would be? Like, how much would it be per day if someone paid out of pocket to do that?
Honestly, we will charge that case by case, out of pocket. I'm not looking to, if someone needs it, then that means there is a need. I'm not going to charge them as much as I could if I was getting funded for it. So that'll be just case by case.
Would you do something like a sliding scale?
Definitely.
Okay. And
Because we're helping someone else help themselves. If they needed to put their parent or whomever into one of the adult daycares, then it's because they need it. They don't need them at home by themselves.
can you talk to me about how, I know the Senior Services Department, they regulate this.
Yes.
Do you know how many participants per square foot?
See, that's different from what the first meeting that we had here.
Yeah.
Those amount, that scale is different.
Sure.
Senior Services quotes one thing, and then when we came here for the first planning and zoning meeting, they told us that it was something else. So we were then going by what they actually told us.
I think that there's an actual number
It is,
in the
but it's
documents
different.
that the Senior Services, that they regulate that part of that.
It's a
correct?
lower number than what they told us
Oh.
the first time we came.
Okay, so you came here and you thought it was one amount, and then it's actually
Exactly.
a lower amount of participants?
Exactly. It's
Okay.
a lower amount of numbers. Just like we came here with senior service, they requires one restroom per 10 people in the building. So we were looking to just open up small and have the one restroom, but the planning and zoning told us it was approved, but we had to add a bathroom along with the water fountain. So that's why when they came out, they saw the holes in the wall, because we were doing what planning and zoning had just told us the previous meeting.
I noticed on the application, there's a spot, there has to be a program director mentioned. Who is the program director?
It'll be Patrice Hall
Okay.
and myself.
Okay. And is the building, do you expect it to be fully ADA compliant then?
Definitely.
Is there a ramp near the parking lot there?
No, it's not.
Okay. Do you expect that there would need to be a ramp? And
I don't think it'll need a ramp.
how would the wheelchairs get down the curb? This is just one step, right?
It's one step. When you say a ramp,
Well, I mean, like cut it,
the
a
little
cut in.
flat
Yeah,
part.
sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This
okay.
one there.
Okay. All right.
And if they came in through the back, I have a truck, and I was able to pull right up. And if someone had to come out through the back, it was enough room. We're not looking to say everybody is dropping off and picking up in the back. No, there's parking spots where that they can't come. Just because you're a senior, I mean, they can still walk, they can be pushed. If there's seniors that go to Subway and eat.
So that's something I was thinking of, is having people there, maybe frequenting the businesses there, you're getting catering and things like that. So that's, I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Mr. Shuldroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Ms. Hall, for letting us come that day and look around your facility. I think you ladies have a good intention, and I just think the facility itself is kind of working against you. It's not you. I think all three of us, from the 2 times that we've talked here and then the time that we were toured your facility, I think your heart's in the right place. I just think that the facility is kind of where the issue is. My one concern was the parking and the traffic there, and I understand, like I agree with Mr. Jones that those places weren't set up for any kind of care, for children or adults or any other kind of care, back in the 60s when they were built. the one reservation I do have is the the parking. Around back was okay, but, if this would happen, I would like, see people come in the front door, where you guys are at, and where you're visible. I know you're there in the building in the back, but, the front would be more, I think, conducive to your operation. But I do thank you for your openness and letting us come up there and look around, because I see you have some space and you're trying to utilize what you do have with another restroom after staff ask you to look at putting another restroom in. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shildroff. Mr. Parson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to follow up on something that Mr. Harris had asked you guys earlier. What I found from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, is that they state that a facility like this can only be open 10 hours a day for 5 days a week. So,
Correct.
If you say 6 to 6, we're at 12. So I don't think that's anything that would be feasible.
Because you have to take in the transportation.
The transportation, what do you mean? Can you explain?
If someone has to be at work at 7 and they need a place for their person to go, we are open at 6. That's not stating that they will be there to 6. Our doors are just open. We're giving people a window.
I understand that, but I'm just looking at what the state is requiring, and it seems like that 12-hour window is not fitting what you're saying, and that's just for informational procedures.
When you add in a transportation going and a transportation going home, there go the 2 extra hours.
Okay, I understand. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parson. Mr. Egan.
No, thank you.
Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this public hearing? Seeing none, Councilwoman Pagano moves to close the public hearing, second by Mr. Shildroff. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The public hearing is closed. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hinkie.
Yes, point of order, Mr. President. Going backwards to public hearing 1902002, we continued that public hearing to this meeting because the petitioners were not present last time. The petitioners did not show up again this time. I don't know what benefit it would be to postpone or continue that public hearing.
Mr. Hessel, I know we have postponed several public hearings more than twice. I mean, we have postponed it.
Correct.
I mean, it has been 3 or 4 times.
It certainly is within the discretion of the City Council to determine whether or not the applicant's failure to appear should judge the application. My advice to you is that more due process is better than less. So as we've done in the past, we've usually given, and I hate to use the baseball analogy, but I think we've used it, 3 strikes. So if you don't show up the 3rd time, you're out. But again, that's totally within the discretion of the City Council.
I'm a firm believer when you pay for advice, you take it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkie. Mr. Shildroff?
On that note, can I ask Mr. Siam, have you heard anything from the petitioner?
I have not heard anything. Nobody contacted me or anything. I have not heard anything. Nobody called me or anything.
Okay. Ms. Moore, do you know, has Karen or yourself heard anything?
We have not.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Shildroff. Yes, Ms. Hessel.
Since we're on the subject, I would also recommend that you make a motion to amend the agenda by removing Bill 9474, which is the ordinance dealing with the adult daycare for the operation at the 119 Flower Valley Shopping Center. So that should be removed from the agenda.
Would you do it when it comes up, or?
You can do it now, or you can do it, it's just a motion to amend the agenda by removing Bill 9474?
Correct, correct. All right, there's a motion that we remove Bill number 9474 by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Bill is removed for first reading.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Egan.
One more comment I'll make on 119 is that they're occupying the building, there are people in that building. I don't know that they're occupying an adult, or they're running adult daycare, but they are in the building and they are moving about, so just FYI.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. I know when I went past there at one time, there was nobody in there, because my biggest concern is the handicap access, and there was no one there now, but that don't mean there'd be people in there working or doing whatever. So yes, okay. Next item is public hearing number 1903004.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with Section 405-135 of the Florissant City Code, the zoning ordinance as amended, that a public hearing will be held by the City Council of the City of Florissant, St. Louis County, Missouri, in Council Chambers, 955 Rue St. Francois, on Monday, March 11, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. on the following proposition to wit: to issue an amendment to the provisions of B5 Ordinance 7965, as amended by Ordinance Number 8252, to allow for an outdoor online grocery pickup area and associated parking revisions for Walmart for the property located at 3390 North Highway 67. Citizens and parties of interest will have an opportunity to be heard at said public hearing. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or TDD 839-5142.
Is the petitioner here, please?
My name is
Yes,
Sunday
ma'am.
Boer with SGA Design Group, 1437 South Boulder, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I represent Walmart and...
Ma'am, could you please? Yes, thank you.
Okay. I represent Walmart, and they are looking to launch their online grocery pickup service to the local Walmart here. Very excited about that. The service is offered 7 days a week between 8 in the morning and 8 at night. There's designated parking stalls for the online grocery pickup, similar like Panera, you know, or the fast food restaurants that have the speedy pickup, that sort of stuff. Because we are widening the parking spaces, we will be eliminating 3 parking stalls, but it does not make us not compliant with the current parking ratio we're required to maintain. There's also signage that'll be placed upon the building, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have regarding the service.
Ma'am, what side of the building is this pickup going to be? Either the south or north side?
It will be the grocery side. You know, you got your
That
garden
would
center
be the
side over
north
here.
side.
It's over on that. Yes.
Yeah, okay, because the south side is where you have your, I believe, home and garden area.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll be on the north side. Okay, thank you. Mr. Siam.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I was going to ask a similar question. It looked like from the diagram that I had that it was going to be in back of the store. Did I read that incorrectly? Like behind the store?
No, actually, it's. Let me break out my plans here. It's really at the, yes, it is on the side of the plan. Oh, we're good.
Nobody can see it out there. That's
You got that?
The parking stalls will be outside the building right here.
Oh, I see. What is the thing in the back that it has it says daily deliveries, weekly inventory. I guess I saw that, and I assumed that that's what it was referring to because it was in big bold letters.
No,
But okay, it's
Walmart
going to be on the side
recognizes
there.
that, that a concern, traffic circulation, with the online grocery pickup and the trucks and the daily deliveries. And at this time, before Walmart launches an online grocery pickup, they work with their vendors and they do not make deliveries during the hours between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. They're all done like at 5 o'clock in the morning.
So in terms of construction and such things, what kind of work does this involve? I mean, what has to be done to set
Restriping
this
the
up?
parking field, signs installations, directional signs, the wall sign, and then on the interior, we add refrigeration coolers, reconfigure the stockroom areas so they have an area to marshal it. They install a computer system there that is dedicated for the online grocery pickup service.
So mainly some internal configuration and like something at the side of the store there that'll take up a couple of spaces worth of parking, and that's
Correct.
about it, pretty much. Okay. Does it affect the store? Is it going to affect the store's operation at all then in that case, or as far as customers going in and out are concerned, or the store's operating hours and all that stuff? It should be transparent to that.
It's pretty seamless,
Okay. And how does the system work? I guess people will just order online, and then
It's amazing.
someone
okay?
will order an employee of the store will gather all the groceries, and then it'll be there just for somebody to go pick up and pay, and that's it.
You order online, you make an appointment to set it up, to pick it up, and, they have so many slots, based off of, their estimated volume of it. When they first start out, there's typically about 50 orders a day. And once people get the hang of it and get used to it, it triples. It's a very successful program. I'm amazed by it. I was one of those people that says, well, nobody's going to get my vegetables or my beef, and now I haven't been inside of a Walmart in 8 months. I just you order online. When your appointment time comes, you mark your phone that you're on the way, and when you're pulling in there, they're standing out there with your order. You're in and out in a minute.
Okay, and does this include only grocery shopping for like food, or what if somebody wants like
Cleaning supplies.
a bike or a TV?
No,
okay,
they would
like
have
that?
to go into the store for that.
Okay,
And that'll
so
be-
they have to be small things, but it doesn't have to be food, I guess.
You can get, cosmetics, your dailies, your laundry soap, that sort of stuff, but no
Okay, no big
merchandise,
things. Yeah.
hard goods, so.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Siam. Mr. Jones?
Yeah, where's this sign going to be located, and what's the size of the sign?
The sign will be on
On the building
front
itself, or
elevation.
a
Yes,
pole
it'll say
sign? Okay.
pickup. It's approximately 44.53 square feet.
Okay. That's all
We
I
would
got.
just like a couple of square feet over what Mr. Lund was comfortable about approving, okay?
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Egan?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't like to top people, but you haven't been in Walmart in 8 months. I haven't been in Walmart in 20 years, but that's just a different story. So let's move on from that. My question, what about alcohol? Can you get alcohol?
Yes, they can get alcohol.
How can
and
we be assured that minors aren't getting it?
IDs are checked.
IDs are checked by the
Yes.
people? And how's the lighting at that? I have not been at that location at night, and so before I vote on this, I'll make the appointment to go out there at night, so I will know.
Wall pack lightings will be installed on that side. And of course, they will be shielded downwards and, so not to encroach upon, the light ordinance or anything like that. But yes, we do maintain, a safe work environment for our employees. So yes, lighting will be included over there.
Okay, very good. And finally, is when we approved Walmart, I believe that we had some discussions over parking. I don't know if anyone on the council remembers that, and they had eliminated parking spots. So I have to check with Mr. Lum to make sure you guys, that still goes in compliance with, because I know it was really, really close when we approved it.
Right, and I have worked with Mr. Lime on that, and in the packets that I prepared for you guys, it did show the required parking and the revised parking, and we do maintain what is required by the ordinance. Because my understanding is that when the store was built, then the front part of the parking area started to cave in.
Yes, ma'am.
We had to go back and redo it, and there was a variance granted for that, but we do meet the requirements.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Parson.
Thank you, Mr. President. How are you?
Good.
Sunday is one of my favorite days of the week, by the way.
Mine too.
Okay, anyway, want to know how much do you expect in terms of online sales and these types of pickups per day? I don't know if you answered that before or not.
I can't even begin to fathom. Each store is, they have their own clienteles, their own market. It's been very well received. I just know the numbers. The minimum order for an online pickup is $30. So, if you're thinking 150 orders a day at $30 minimum, it's...
Okay, so you think about 150, that might be reasonable?
I've seen it that high, yes.
Okay. And I also expect maybe people who are disabled would be using this pretty frequently. So I know you said the spaces would be widened some. Is that going to allow enough for people who are disabled to have access to pick up?
The client stays inside of the vehicle. The reason we're widening the parking stalls is for pathway for our little trolleys and our employees.
Okay, all right.
So you stay totally in the car.
All right, understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parson. Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a question about parking lot security. Does this change the way that you would do security in the parking lot, having this operation here?
No, it doesn't change our security.
Okay, there hasn't been any kind of concern with that?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Yes, my only other concern would be that traffic-wise, I know you have it in your plans, the way you have them corralled to go in one way or out the other. Because I've been through that parking lot, and it's a mess. It really is.
I
and then
spent
if
this
you
afternoon
add people
there,
going in there to pick up groceries and sitting there and backed up waiting, and all of your regular customers going into the store, that would be my only concern. But you can't determine that until see what happens and
Correct.
how much traffic goes through there.
Correct. That we will be providing directional signage, to herd them.
Correct, right.
in a method that we feel is less trafficked.
And hopefully they abide by the way they should.
What we all do in parking lots, right?
Right. But no, I know with your security that Mr. Harris was questioning about, I know they have installed temporary security
A lot cop, yes, I saw that.
throughout the parking lot, more than what they had their regular security on their light posts. They have put in temporary security, which is good. I mean, can't have enough security.
No, you can't.
Thank you. Mr. Siam.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I was going to ask again about the traffic pattern, like I think you sort of answered, how you were going to ensure that people actually follow the traffic pattern that you had on this diagram, and you said you were going to provide some signage to that
Some
effect,
directional
so-
signage, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Siam. Before this public hearing is closed, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Councilman Siam moves to close the public hearing, second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next item is old business. Bills for a second reading, we have none. New business, board appointments. Mr. Shuldroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to reappoint Christine Kyle 110 St. Pierre to the Citizens Participation Commission.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Appointments made.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shuldroff. Next item is requests. Councilman Cyan moves to accept the application to transfer special use permit 8299 from Florissant Kids Care Center, LLC, to Kingdom Kids Learning Center, LLC, located at 2184 North Waterford Drive. Second by Mr. Hinkie. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Application is accepted. Next item. Councilman Caputa, myself, moves to approve the packaged liquor license for Dollar General Store, number 18943, located at 15275 New Halls Ferry Road. Second by Mr. Shuldroff. I have a few questions on this. Before I would want to continue this. So I will make a motion that we delay this request. Second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. And yes, it will be postponed to the 25th meeting. Next item, bills for first reading. Bill number 9474.
We removed it.
We pulled that one. Ordinance authorized, Bill 9475.
Ordinance authorizing an amendment to B5 ordinance number 5239 to allow for an adult daycare as a special use for the property located at 58 Grandview Plaza Shopping Center.
Bill number 9477.
An ordinance to authorize an amendment to the provisions of a B5 ordinance 7965 to allow for an outdoor online grocery pickup and associated parking revisions for Walmart for the property located at 3390 North Highway 67.
Bill number 9478.
An ordinance authorizing the transfer of special use permit number 8299 from Florissant Kids Care LLC to Kingdom Kids Learning Center LLC, located at 2184 North Waterford Drive.
Councilman Cyan moves for a second reading, second by myself. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All against? Ayes have it.
Ordinance authorizing the transfer of special use permit number 8299 from Florissant Kids Care Center LLC to Kingdom Kids Learning Center, located at 2184 North Waterford.
Councilman Cyan moves for a third reading, second by Ms. Pagano. Roll call, please.
Cyan? Yes. Harris? Yes. Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldroff?
Yes.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the transfer of special use permit number 8299 from Florissant Kids Care Center to Kingdom Kids Learning Center LLC, located at 2184 North Waterford Drive.
Before the final vote is taken on this bill, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none.
Cyan?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shuldroff?
Yes.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Parson?
Yes.
Bill number 9478 passes and becomes ordinance 8498. Bill number 9479.
An ordinance appropriating $80,000 from the Park Improvement Fund to account 509-61560, Capital Additions Coke, for the demolition of the Coke Aquatic Center.
I'll move for a second reading, second by Mr. Shuldroff. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Mr. Shuldroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to commend Mr. Jones for his work to get the ball rolling here at our aquatic center for the demolition of it. He's worked tirelessly to get this project going, and he's to be commended. This note from the Parks Director pretty much backs that up. The bids came in lower than expected, and the reason they did was because our staff did some preliminary work at the site, and I know Mr. Jones really spearheaded that, and he's to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Odroff. Mr. Egan.
I see that Mr. Jones has his light on. I'll let him go first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Jones.
You know what, I'm going to be polite because the mayor's not here. I won't say what I'd like to say. I'm very disgusted with the whole deal with this, and I'll just leave it at that. My plan has been pushed to the side by the mayor, and we have moved forward, and that's what I'm going to do. But like I said, if the mayor was here, he would have a little bit coming, but time to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Egan.
You know, I was under the understanding that there was another plan in process. And then I was understanding that was falling apart, but very candidly, playing off what Mr. Jones just said, I might be willing to wait for a month to see what happens if that plan is, if we can revisit that. And so you're going to get a big fat no from me right now.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Ms. Pagano.
Yes, I would also like to thank Mr. Jones, because I think that pool would still be sitting in the same spot it was sitting in last year when we closed it. So without him behind it, trying to get the ball moving, I think it would have stalled. So thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Pagano. Yes, Mr. Jones, he did a hell of a job. But he did a good job on this, getting things going. And it is a shame that it's turning out to be this way because of all the work that he did do on this, the legwork. I know Mr. Jones met several times up there with city officials. Mr. Jones, myself, has met with people that equipment to come in with the equipment that we would rent to do this ourselves in-house. But now it's going this way where we'll go out and get some bids, so it is what it's on the table. And any more discussion? All in favor? Okay. Next item, council announcements. Mr. Parson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I want to mention the same thing I guess I did at the last meeting, or maybe it was the meeting before, but people really need to be careful about warming their vehicles up. I know everybody wants to get in a warm vehicle before they go to work with the winter weather, but over this last week, we've had a number of vehicles that were stolen because vehicles were left unattended, and that's something that's completely preventable. So I just would like to have our residents to think before they do that. You know, it only takes a few minutes for you to let the vehicle warm up while you're in the car. So just be mindful of that because you'd rather be cold for a little while than not have your vehicle. Additionally, I want to remind everybody about your Florissant 5. Make sure you get to know all of your neighbors, neighbor that lives across the street, cat a corner to you, and on both your right and your left. Make sure you get to know them, that you develop a relationship with them, and I think that helps with the neighborhood watch situation. And lastly, I would encourage people to patronize 5 Florissant businesses every single month. We have definitely a number of great businesses here in Florissant, and I would encourage everybody to continue doing that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Mr. Harris.
I would like to announce again that we're going to have a neighborhood or ward cleanup on March 23rd. 10 a.m. we're going to meet in the parking lot at Schnucks, the corner of Shackelford and Melanthie there at the top. and have a table set up there, and we'll have all the supplies. And we did this a couple times in the fall. It turned out really nice. We enjoyed it. We picked up a lot of bags of trash and just enjoyed each other's company. So I invite you to come out to that from 10 to noon on Saturday, the March 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also in Ward 3 are going to plan one for April. We're taking Andrew's great idea and moving with it as well. We'll get that information out as we get through to April. I have noticed that I run the streets of Florissant wards usually 1, 2, and 3 every day, but I hit 4 occasionally, and every now and again I get over to 6. But I'm just appalled at the amount of trash that people dump, especially at the bus stops and at the intersections. And so I'm hoping that the campaign the city has adopted, Feed the Cans, Not the Land, begins to show some fruition for us. Also, if you're out there, let's clean up our gumballs, for God's sakes. These gumballs are going to break my ankle one day. But I guess they must have, in the 60s, been giving these gumball trees away, and everyone got a couple of those. I know they're good for shade. So let's be cognizant that there's walkers and bikers and people that jog. Let's clean up our gumballs. Lastly, we've had our second full week of the St. Ferdinand Charity Barbecue and Basketball Tournament. We had a very good weekend. It was good to see most of the members of the council, as well as city officials, other elected officials, out and showing up and showing some support for the community. We're benefiting Elijah Paul, who's a young man who was born 4 months premature and has some issues with cancer, and he's struggling every day, but he's doing really good, and we're real hopeful. That's all I got. Thank you. We'll be out there next Saturday all day, and we're taking Sunday off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deegan. Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the team like I always do. There's always somebody hungry, you guys, morning, noon, or night. Don't forget them. Got some extra canned goods at home, some extra change, a couple extra dollars. If you got some time to volunteer, please contact team. Also, please watch your speeding on Lindsay. The police department's out there again. I'm starting to hear a lot of people starting to groan in the neighborhood. All I can tell them, this is what they wanted, this is what they got. I am very much for the 25 miles per hour speed limit, but you guys that live there got to abide by it too. So please keep that in mind when you're going down Lindsay. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hinkie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just to piggyback on a couple of other council people, we're going to be having a ward cleanup also in 6. Shoot for, don't have a date yet. Watch your mail. We'll be getting a postcard out with all the details. But I'm looking at sometime approximately, roughly a couple of weeks before the Valley of Flowers, so we get spruced up a little bit for the Valley of Flowers. So keep an eye on the mail. We're going to have it in Ward 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkie. Yes, I would like, if you're a firearm owner, make sure you keep your firearms secured. Do not leave them in your vehicles. Make sure your cars are locked at all times. Do not leave them running in the morning. Like Mr. Parsons said, it is nice to get into a warm vehicle. But last week's notables, that's 99% of the notables were all stolen cars left unattended, warming up. So make sure you be conscious of that. Join your Neighborhood Watch program. We have a very good Neighborhood Watch program in the city. Very aggressive, so if you're not a member of the Neighborhood Watch, make sure you try to get involved. The City of Florissant, the American Legion Post 444 will co-sponsor a Veterans Job Fair that would be on February 19th. It's on a Friday, goes from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the... Did I say February?
You did, but you didn't mean it.
Friday, April 19th. It would be at the JFK Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. No cost to everyone. The City of Florissant will be there, the Florissant Police Department, Wheeling Security, Edward Joe's Dome, Amazon, Schnucks, and several other employees or employers. So make sure you come there if you're looking for a job. Be a very good thing for the veterans. And also there will be an electronic recycling event. Will be held Saturday, April 6th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in St. Ferdinand Park. They'll be taking all electronics recycling, and there will be some charge for monitors, TVs, and other plasma TVs and everything, and any Freon containing unit. So make sure you go into the website and figure out what size TVs. They have different prices for different televisions. That's all I have. The next city council meeting will be
March 25th.
March 25th. I see that now. March 25th, 2019. Ms. Pagano moves to adjourn the regular meeting, second by myself. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.